Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Angiosperm Morphology course. We started the chapter on stem and we were discussing branching in the stem. In the previous video, we discussed, in fact, it was an introduction to Cymose branching, and we classified the Cymose branching into three types, and that was Uniparous, Biparous and Multiparous. As we know the mode of Cymose branching, and just to recap in case you have forgotten, because it has been a while since we last uploaded this video on Cymose branching. So mode of Cymose branching, just a quick recap, that the main stem, it usually stops growing. There are a couple of reasons that the apex of the stem it stops growing, and that is either the apical bud it falls off, or it ends in a flower. And when the apex of the stem it stops growing, in either case, whether the apical bud falls off or it ends in a flower, it gives off branches below the apex. So this was the apex, and how many branches are given off below the apex? According to that, we have classified it into three main types: Uniparous, Biparous or Multiparous. So it can give off below the apex one branch or two branches, or more than two branches. So depending upon the number of branches, there are three basic kinds of Cymose branching: Uniparous, Biparous and Multiparous. And those branches, they again repeat that particular pattern of branching. So we start with the Uniparasyme. First of all, Uniparasyme, this is the most common type of branching in Angiosperms, most common. So this is the most common type of branching in Angiosperms. So most of the Angiosperms, they have adopted this Uniparous mode of branching. Now Uniparous branching, what happens that the main axis it stops growing and then it gives off one branch below the apex. So after that branch is produced, this branch again stops growing, and now it will give off one branch below the apex in the same manner as happened in the main stem. Say this is the main stem and this is the branch. Now how the next branch is produced? Either it is produced on the same side or it is produced on the opposite side. So according to this, the Uniparasyme, as you can see, there are two options. I repeat again, the next branch, it may arise on the same side as this branch was given off from the right side of the stem. So this is the right side, and it has two options. Either it can give off next branch on the same side, that is on the right side, or it can give off a branch on the opposite side, that is on the left side. So this is another option. So since there are two options, so according to these two options, the Uniparous mode of branching has two kinds, and these are Scorpid and helicoid. So what is Scorpid and what is helicoid or helicoid? In case of Scorpid, again we repeat that pattern, that the main stem it stops growing and then it gives off one branch. It gives off one branch below the apex. So this is the main stem, it has stopped growing. Now this branch can be given off either on the right side or on the left side. So say on the right side. You can draw it on the left as well. This is not an obligation, it is not a condition. So main axis has, a main stem has stopped growing and it has given off a branch on the right side. What happens next, that this particular stem, this particular branch, it also stops growing, and now it gives off a branch on the opposite side, on the opposite side. As we have already seen that there are two options, either it can branch on the right or it can branch on the left. So it gives off branches on the left side, and this particular branch again stops growing, this one, and it will, I'm just writing its next branch, it will branch, now it will branch on the opposite side. So let's go back to this diagram, and so as you can see this pattern is then repeated, and what we get, a zigzag pattern, one branch on the right, next on the left, then right, then left, then right. So this pattern of branching is repeated. This is what we call Scorpid mode of branching, that the main axis stops growing and it gives off branch, say on the right side, and then that particular branch, it again stops growing and it gives off a branch, but now on the opposite, that is on the left, its left side, and it again stops growing and now it produces a branch on its right side. So branches are produced alternately, first on the right, next on the left, then on the right. So this was the branch of the first order, this was branch of the second order, and this is the branch of the third order, and this will be the branch of the fourth order, and this will continue. Now let's refine this diagram a little, and instead of drawing these thick lines, we shall restrict ourselves to single line. And we also going to draw the leaves, because in this particular diagram we did not show any leaf. Now there must be a leaf here in the axle of which this branch arose, and similarly we have a leaf here and a leaf here and a leaf here. So we are going to draw leaves as well. So let's say this is the main axis, this is the main axis, and we are also going to find out or see that what happens, that does this pattern of branching remains in this particular manner, because you will hardly find any plant with branching like this zigzag manner, one on the right and then on the opposite side. So what happens next when this mode of branching starts, we are also going to see that, and that what is the fate, what is the outcome of this scorpide or helicoid branching. So let's draw it. This is the main axis and its apex has stopped growing, and this is the leaf in the axle of which a branch arises, now say on the right side. So this is branch on the right side, and it again stops growing and it gives off a branch in the axle of leaf, and now on the opposite side. So this is next branch. So this is next branch. So this is the main axis, this is branch of the first order, and this is branch of the second order. Now this particular branch, it will again stop growing, and then it will give off next branch on the right side. So we have branch of the first order, branch of the second order, and then branch of the third order, and this process will continue. Now what happens to this in nature, or naturally? Does the plant maintain this particular shape, or there are some changes? In nature, this particular shape of the branching changes, and what happens that these, now this is the main axis, and all of these branches we usually call them daughter axis. Daughter axis. Now these, let's add E for plural. So these daughter axes, all of these, the first, the second and the third one, they try to straighten out, they try to get themselves straight. So when they straighten out, what happens that this particular system of branching changes. Let's first see a diagram, and then we are going to work this out, that how the daughter axis or the daughter branches or the daughter shoots, they get themselves straight. So here's the diagram right in front of you. As you can see, this was the main axis, it ended in a flower, and then it produces a daughter axis in the axil of a leaf. And as you can see, the pattern of Scorpid branching, first branch on the right, then on the left, then right, left, right, and it continues. Now what happens that this is the actual position in nature. Now this particular stem or this particular plant or axis, it tries to straighten out these branches. As you can see, now what happened, that this is the main axis. As you can see, when this tries to straighten out itself, the main axis, it will bend towards the left. Now this is the main axis, and this was its leaf in the axil of which this second branch arose. As you can see, this second branch, this is the second branch. And why it has bent? Because when this particular axis, it tries to straighten out, so as you can see that we have leaves on the right, and so to say a branch on the left, then leaf, then a branch. As you can see, it gives the appearance as if the leaves are on the right side and the branches are arising from the left side. As you can see here, leaves on the right and branch on the left, leaf on the left, branch on the right. So it cannot happen, because always when there is a stem, we have a leaf and then a branch arises in its axil. So why this pattern has formed? Because the daughter axis, all the daughter axis, they have straightened themselves out. They have become straight, due to which their apices, they have been either pushed to the left or to the right, depending upon the branch, whether it was the right branch or it was the left branch. So hopefully you get the concept that what happens to a Scorpid branching, that when these branches are being formed, they also try to get themselves straight, and when this will straighten itself, this particular branch will bend towards the left, and this particular axis, it will take the position here. As you can see, this was its leaf, actually it arose in the axil of the leaf. The main axis or apex of the main axis above this leaf, this one, it has bent to the left, and now this particular part is occupied by the base of the second branch. Similarly, when this third branch tries to straighten itself, when it will try to straighten itself, what happens that this tip of the second branch, it bends towards the right. Now this particular area is occupied by the base of this third branch, or the branch of the third order, and similar is the case with the next branches of the next order. Now one thing that you notice, we are going to convert this into this particular pattern as well. Just hold on, but first let's sort this out, this particular diagram. As you can see that this main axis, which seems to be a single axis, but this is not a single axis. This is made up of bases of the subsequent daughter axis. As you can see, this is the base of this particular branch, second branch. This is the base of the third branch. This is the base of the fourth branch, and this is the base of the fifth branch, and this is the sixth, and this is the seventh. So this particular axis, it is a composite axis made up of bases of the successive daughter axis. That's why we have named it sympodial axis. That is, this axis is made up by the union of subsequent bases of the daughter axis. This is not single axis. Base of second, base of third, base of fourth, base of 5, base of 6, and base of 7th. So this is a composite axis. That's why we have named it sympodial. And just for a contrast, we also discussed monopodial in case of racemose branching, if you remember. So this is not monopodial, this is sympodial axis, because all the daughter axes, their bases have united to form a single axis. So this is what we call Scorpid Cymose branching. So let's see that how it happens. Let's take this particular diagram and we shall move on stepwise. So this is the main axis. It has a leaf, and in the axil of which this branch has arisen, right? Now say it has ended in a flower and it has ended in a flower. Now what happens that this particular branch, it tries to get straight. When it tries to get straight, what happens that this particular part of the main axis, it will bend towards the left. So this is the main axis, and now this is the second. So this was first or main axis, and this is the second or first daughter axis, right? So as you can see, this is the base of the parent axis and this is the base of the daughter axis. Now what happens that this particular daughter axis, now it gives off a branch on the left side, as this is a Scorpid branching. So it has given off a branch on the left side. Now that particular branch, as you can see now, when it straightens out, that branch, now the leaf is here of the first branch, and this is the second branch. Now as you can see, when it tries to straighten itself out or get itself straight, this particular branch, it will bend towards the right. So let's draw it again, and now this is the parent axis and this is the second axis. After drawing up to this part, you will bend it towards the right, and now this is the position. Its leaf is here and its leaf is here, and this is the, so as you can see, you can work it out and you can make it yourself easily. So this is the let's change the colors to distinguish between these. So this is the main axis, first axis, and this is the second axis, and say this one is the third one, final one. So as you can see, let's make their size of the pen a little thicker. So as you can see, the actual position. So this was the main axis. When this particular second axis, it straightened out itself, it was the main axis was bent towards the left. And similarly, when this third axis, it bends or it tries to get itself straight, and the tip of this particular, it bends towards the right. Now you can see very clearly that this axis is not a single one. It is made up of bases. So this is the base of the main axis, this is the base of the first daughter axis, and this is the base of the second daughter axis. So this is actually a sympodial axis. This particular axis is sympodial or sympodial. So hopefully you get the point and you can work it out yourself, and you can take it a few steps further, and then you can draw here another branch, and when that particular branch will get itself straightened out, then as you can see it will bend towards the left. It will bend towards the left, and the next branch will, the base of the next branch will occupy this area. So this was Scorpid branching, and I'm not sure that whether I made it clear or it was adequate so that you can follow it. However, you can practice it yourself, and hopefully you will get the concept. So this was the Scorpid. In the next video we are going to take a look at the helicoid branching. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.